Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Dan, the voice behind ThatKaitoDan, and I'm here to discuss and analyze the brand new RWBY Volume 6 opening. But before we do that, here is my reaction to the opening after episode 1 finished. Though just a little heads up, I did get a little loud, so volume warning. Enjoy!
New intro! We all getting in this! Come on! Let's see what this is like. Team RWBY reunited. Didn't light it up, Crow. Adam in the reflection. Oh, that is good. Old lady. That's gonna be Silver Eyes connection! Crow! What? Whoa! What the hell? Who are you? Is that the next... Oh! That's gotta be Neo! That's gotta be Neo because that was Torturing's hat! Oh my god! Oh! Whoa! New characters! Whoa! John going up against Oscar! Oh my god! That's gotta be Neo! But she was holding something else there! Oh my god! Oh! Monty, this series keeps on fighting strong! Kid! This was epic! Oh my god!
So it's safe to assume that I quite liked the opening, huh? Now let's go deeper and discuss what exactly it is that I was actually going giddy over. Of course, it would be best if you have watched the opening and the episode itself, as well as the recent trailer, since I will be referring to several elements from these other sources. Of course, even though this is just the opening, anything that I may discuss is still speculation until it's explored in the volume, so do take some of the things that I say with a pinch of salt. Otherwise, let's dive right in and look at what this opening has to offer. So let's start with that new theme song, which has been revealed by Casey and Jeff to be called Rising. The major theme seems to be our heroes having faith that they can achieve victory, almost like it's meant to be, as the song has several lyrics that paint the visuals of multiple occurrences that are either predetermined or set in stone, like lightning striking wildly, rivers flowing into the sea, and birds flying higher than even mountains. Off the back of the group's first victory over the bad guys last volume, this actually feels like a very fitting tone for their mindset. Their little glimmer of hope has been kindled by the events in Haven, and now they're looking forward with a little bit more confidence. Even the music sounds more hopeful and lighter, the synthish-like sounds adding to the atmosphere around our heroes, though it's still a fast-paced, blood-pumping tune suiting the action and the still-present dark vibes the opening teases us with. As ever, I'll need a little bit more time until I can fully gauge my opinion on the song, but so far, I'm really loving it. And as always, Jeff and Casey do an amazing job crafting a brilliant opening track for the volume. But now let's get into the visuals, and boy is there plenty to discuss. Things start off on a bright note with our first look at the newly reunited Team RWBY and a shot of the moon getting sliced into its more well-known broken form, which could either be a hint to some answers at long last about this whole broken moon mystery, or it could just be a visual touch. Either way, we also see the rest of the main hero group in the Haven train station, complete with some cute Renora hugging, Oscar getting some light reading about Alice's mechs, and Jean being unlucky at poor Crow's expense. All in all, a fairly positive vibe from these lot to start things off. Even Ruby and Weiss look cheerful on the train ride to Argus. But all is not sunshine and rainbows, as we get some angst from the Bumblebee pair, complete with Adam's mug in the window's reflection. Obviously, the past events with these three involved are still weighing heavily on their respective minds. And both Yang and Blake looking glum, while their teammates are more jovial, definitely looks to be hinting at some tense times in the future, as long as Adam and the two girls' strained relationship continues to be tested. Then we got this bit with Ruby, Crow, and the mysterious old lady that we've seen from the trailer. And though I won't mention who she is based on the first episode just yet, the big takeaway is this transition going from her cybernetic eyes to a close-up of Ruby's silver eyes. Without a doubt, this is hinting that this woman has some connection to the Silver-Eyed Warriors, with the general consensus being that she's actually one herself, and she either has had her eyes covered to protect them, or those cybernetic goggles are actually her new eyes after losing them, likely at the hands of Salem and her cohorts. Promising signs for sure for those of us who have been chomping at the bit for some more info on Ruby's special power and its history. As for Crow, well, switching to the next scene, the drunker was chugging down on his flask before getting pulled into the darkness by some Grim with hands that are similar to the Knuckleavis. Now, I'm sure a lot of folks are going to be concerned once again about what this means for Crow's fate, but I see it more as a symbolic glimpse into Crow's sorrow, as he is looking rather depressed as he drinks, and many of us have already assumed that something in his past as part of Team Stark led to him becoming an alcoholic. So there's every chance that this volume could be hinting at what led to Crow's drinking problem, and as a result, it could also be our first glimpse at some long-awaited Team Stark related content. Afterwards, we see Ruby dealing with her own grim hands that are getting a little too clingy in some kind of dark tunnel, and just like the stuff with Crow, I'm not completely banking on this being as literal as it looks, and instead it could be Ruby having to confront the darkness inside that she's been burdening herself with, which does add to what Lindsay has been mentioning in some recent interviews regarding her role this volume and the challenges that Ruby will be facing. Then, whoo boy, this mysterious figure. Okay, so I'm actually going to save this for later in the video and I'll go more detail on that in a bit, but just letting you know now, as you obviously saw in my reaction, I definitely got excited for what this might have hinted, but we'll focus on that in a bit. After another cool transition, we then spot our bad guys, starting with Adam, who's lashing out as ever, though this shot with the White Fang emblem in the fire looks really damn cool. And it teases the inner turmoil that's going on within the faction, as well as Adam's confident smile standing amongst the flames, showing that he's still defiant as ever. Then everybody from Salem's lot piles in. Hazel, Tyrion, Emerald, Mercury, and Watts. All of Salem's current associates make an appearance, so hopefully this means that none of them will be taking a step back while others take the focus, like with Tyrion last volume. Though it is worth noting that out of all the group, Emerald is the only one looking displeased, which does make sense given the supposed loss of Cinder. It's just interesting though that she's looking forlorn while Mercury has his typical smug look. The Wicked Witch herself then screams out in supposed anger and is then covered in an odd blue mist, but not before her eyes start to emit a wave of energy that's not all that different from the Maiden Eyes power-up. I can't for the life of me recall any other instance where we see something like this coming out of her eyes, especially in a way that looks like the Maiden powers. So I'm wondering if that's some kind of connection there, or perhaps I'm just overthinking. After that, we then have this curious sight of a blonde-haired woman looking up at a statue of what must be Ozpin, though he looks much younger. At first I thought, oh wait, that's an Ozpin statue? And that's a blonde woman. Is that Glinda? But then I couldn't really picture why Glinda would look like that and why she'd be in a scene like this. But then I recalled what we just switched from, and I want to take a blind stab in the dark here, but I think that could be Salem, the original Salem, before she became the Grim Queen that we know of today. This woman's overall look does fit that of Salem, with the regal hairstyle and long robe, and we know these two have a long history with each other involved. So perhaps this was a time before the two were enemies, and during a time where Ozpin was some sort of respected figure warranting a statue. And given this woman looks to be holding her hands in fond prayer, maybe the two were closer than some of us first thought. And we have even more Ozpin related stuff to talk about as we then cut to a zoom through of what must be our first look at some of Ozpin's past lives. Obviously we can't gauge too much on who they are exactly, though I like how we go from a royal figure to a high-class noble to a humble-looking smart guy to an experienced old headmaster and then the fledgling farm boy Oscar. I wonder if that was actually an intentional slow downgrade of class from person to person. But going back to not knowing the full identities of these gentlemen, that actually might not be the case, as I think the first guy we see could be the warrior king of Vale, a historical figure that many have connected to Ozpin in the past. First off, the guy is wearing a royal designed suit of armor complete with a crown pattern on his chest plate, and his top color is a shade of green, fitting for the green-themed kingdom of Vale. Secondly, he's holding a rune-topped cane that could be the same one that we saw the King of Vale have during the Great War World of Remnant episode. And thirdly, the statue that we saw previously is also wielding the very same cane, given the similar mount design at the top. Perhaps then that this is the king during his youth, and the statue version is him when he's older. And then the warrior king is him during his old age before he passes on to the next life. That would explain then why there's an Ozpin reincarnation that warrants having a statue, and why the woman looking up at him looks so regal. What if then this woman, I assume that is Salem, was actually the Queen of Vale alongside Ozpin, who was its king? This is easily the biggest amount of speculation in this video, but I think there's definitely enough clues to hint at this being a possibility. Also, I know some folks have been speculating on whether or not the second chap, the guy that I called a high-class noble, is actually the floating guy that we saw in the trailer being praised. But isn't his clothes more purplish while Mr. Flyboy has some more dark grey coloured clothing? Moving on, and this sequence ends with Ozpin's head bowing down, perhaps in reflection of his past, while Oscar looks lost and confused. And the mood only gets worse when Jean, who looks extremely pissed, shoves him up against the wall. Jean has obviously had a lot of emotional outbursts since the fall of Beacon and the death of Pyrrha, and this could be the blonde finally having something make him snap and want to lash out at the former headmaster, even if it's through Oscar. Though it could also be involving the scene that we saw from the trailer that had Oscar reaching out to the relic as Team RWBY looks shocked and ready to strike at him after some kind of incident. We then see Crow battling the newly revealed Sphinx Grim aboard the train, and now let's finally discuss the mystery-robed woman. So, earlier we saw this woman wandering through a rainy section of Haven, very much like the same section that Crow went to last volume. She's just wandering around through the crowd when, suddenly, a boom. Well, hello there, Torchwick's hat. What are you doing all the way here in Mistral? I won't lie, as you've obviously seen in the reaction, I thought that this meant the hooded person was Neo, the opening teasing her long hoped for return in the eyes of many. But there's more to this and the other scene with her involved that meets the eye. See, the hat and the hooded woman gets attacked from someone outside of our view, and in the second scene, the two are fighting, and we see that the mystery woman is now wielding a weapon, and her other hand is looking mighty messed up. And thanks to the power of editing, we can better tell that the bare hand is more like a bone hand, and the weapon looks extremely familiar. Yes folks, that's not Neo, that is Cinder, her grim arm now turning bony like many a grim do, and somehow she survived her fall in the vault, thus explaining why this is taking place in Haven. This also confirmed the scene in the trailer with the hooded person in what looks to be some sort of criminal hotspot is definitely taking place in Haven's underground, with most likely Cinder putting out a hit on either Raven or Ruby, or she's here trying to get info on their whereabouts. But those of you who are disappointed that this is not Neo, fear not, because she's most likely the person that is attacking Cinder. She's the only person that would bring something like Torchwick's hat to Mistral, and if you try your best to time your pauses just right in the fight, you can spot what has to be Neo's iconic parasol being used. Not to mention the earlier shot in the rain could also be hinting at her return, with everyone using their own umbrella. So the question now is, why is she attacking Cinder? Perhaps with Torchwick gone, Neo is lashing out at all the people responsible. And first up is the woman who dragged him into the mess in Vale in the first place, Cinder. Could this though potentially mean that later we'll see Neo hunt for Ruby? Maybe these two will actually cease their fighting and end up working together to get vengeance. Who knows, but I will admit that I am super excited to see this clash and the end result, as I feel that both these two deadly ladies have a lot to offer still in the story. And then we wrap up things nicely with a beautiful and smooth flowing chaining up of the RWBY girls mowing through the Grim, in probably one of the best opening sequences in the series so far, before one last look of our heroes and the old lady together as one. A lovely end to a fantastic opening. Again, I will need more time for the song to settle in my mind, though right now, "We're rising like the moon" is currently stuck in my head. But either way, visually, this looks stellar indeed, and it is without a doubt promising a ton of exciting prospects to be explored and unraveled in the weeks to come. And it more than does its job at making me excited as heck for every new episode to drop. But what about you guys? How did this opening make you feel? Do you agree with some of my speculations? And what's your take on the new song? And how does it rank so far amongst the others? Let me know in the comments down below, and while you're at it, hit the subscribe and bell buttons to make sure you get every new video from me as they drop, and follow me on Twitter at ThatKaitoDan for more on all things RWBY, updates on future content, and more. But until next time, have a good day or good night, and peace out.